Everyone, my name is Gretel Von Son. Thank you so much for being here today. We are so happy that we can continue to provide these workshops for you through our SBIR Connect program. Before I introduce our speakers, which we're very excited to have today, I'd like to do a little bit quick introduction to Connect, our program SBIR Connect, and our partnership for those of you who are new to Connect and SBIR Connect. So I'll start with Connect. Connect is a nonprofit here in San Diego. We've been around for over 30 years, and we really just aim to help entrepreneurs scale through our various programs. So our programs provide mentorship, education. We have different resources through our sponsors as well. So we do office hours with legal, IT. We do have SBIR office hours as well. I'm talking about SBIR. So SBIR is a Small Business Innovation Research Program. It's across multiple federal agencies, but our partnership is with NIWC PAC under NAV4. I know there's a lot of acronyms in the government world. So NAV4 is the Naval Information Warfare Systems Command, and it is one of the Navy system commands or SysComs. It is local. It's here in San Diego, and our partnership really is just to help bring awareness into the SBIR and STTR program, but also help foster those relationships between government and industry. However, we do understand the importance of other federal contracting programs and opportunities that are out there that exist outside of the SBIR program, which is why we're here today with some resources for you. If you have any questions about Connect, you can go to connect.org or you can email us at team@connect.org. We are always very happy to help. We're a very collaborative community as well, as you can see from today. So any questions that come through, if Connect can be the answer, we definitely know someone in the community who can and has that answer. So now for our awesome speakers, we are super thankful to have both Cheryl Brown and Mike Sabellico joining us today. The way the agenda is set up, we will do our presentation. So Cheryl and Mike will both do their presentations, and we'll reserve the questions for after the presentations. But please, as the presentations go forth and you have any questions that come up, drop them in the Q&A, and we'll make sure that at the end of the presentations, we go back and do our best to answer all of the questions that come through. So now I'll introduce our speakers. Once again, thank you so much for being here. So our first speaker is Cheryl Brown. Cheryl is an advisor at the North County SBDC, and there she is. The SBDC is the Small Business Development Center. Cheryl has over 15 years of experience consulting and helping small businesses, counseling, I should say, with small businesses. She's an expert in government contracting, and she really is just a wealth of knowledge. She's really well known in the community, so it's a great resource for you guys to have, and so we're very thankful to have her here today. And before I let her take over, I would like to introduce our second speaker, Mike Sabellico. Mike Sabellico is the Interim Regional Director of the SoCal PTAC. The PTAC is a Procurement Technical Assistance Center. Once again, all the acronyms. But Mike is also a great resource. He has served as a consultant and as a procurement advisor. And not only that, but he actually has worked with local defense contractors. He started his own small business and he's a veteran. So he's also a really good resource for you guys to have and for a community to have. So without further ado, just a reminder, questions at the end, but please pop them in the chat. And I'll go ahead and let Cheryl get started so we can use the best time of our time here today. So thank you both.
Well, thank you so much, Gretel, and thank you to Connect for having us today. We'd love to collaborate more. Really, there's so many resources out there available to the small business community, and my advice is, take advantage of all of them, every single one of them, because they all bring a certain level of expertise and knowledge to your business and to your success. So what I'm going to go through a little bit today is kind of like, rather than just kind of telling you exactly what we do and how we can support you, it's kind of keying on a couple items, especially as you're looking at pursuing opportunities with the various government agencies. Here in San Diego County, we have the second largest government spend in the country, just second to DC. And so it makes sense that we have our PTAC and our Small Business Development Center program available to help you pursue those opportunities. You have federal, state, as well as local. And then there's, not to forget, multi-state if you're looking at going into other states as well. So to give you an idea of some of the things that you're going to need, share my screen here, and how we can help you. So yes, thank you. Once again, my name is Cheryl Brown. I am a program advisor for the San Diego and Imperial Valley SBDC network. We have 9 different service centers here in San Diego County with over 100 different advisors. Each advisor has an area of expertise that they really focus in on, whether it be startup, marketing, strategic planning, selling your products and services to the local commissaries, all the way to, again, with the SBIR and government contracting, and the list goes on and on. So if we don't have a resource in-house under our umbrella, we then partner with our other resources in the area, like our PTACs, Connect, and our Export Trade Center. So there's a plethora of information and resources, all either at no cost or very, very low cost. So as you look at pursuing opportunities with the various government agencies, and this also includes the SBIR program, there are 3 guarantees that I can make you. And I don't like to make many guarantees, but these 3 guarantees I can make with complete confidence. Number 1, you are going to need a plan. And I am not talking about this theoretical business plan that you present to lenders to get debt financing. I'm talking about a strategic plan. You're going to need money. It is the old saying, it takes money, takes money to make money. Yeah, you're going to need money. And finally, you are going to need to market. So these are the 3 guarantees. If you decide to pursue opportunities either with the government sector or with large businesses, big corporations, you're going to need a plan, you're going to need money, and you're going to need to market. So what is your plan? We really like to embrace the lean canvas strategic planning when we're talking about looking at strategic planning, and that is identifying why are you looking at pursuing these different types of opportunities, why this market segment, and what is it going to take for you to get there, and then how are you going to get there? Now, there's a number of different avenues you can take. There's some questions that we have had come in prior to today. So one of the questions I saw that came in is, well, how do we get started? We have an on-demand series called Government Contracting, On-Demand Government Contracting. It is 9 modules. If you're looking at doing business with the government, that would be a great starting point. That's going to give you the dirt. That's going to give you the foundation. We also have an on-demand series on selling to big business. So if you're looking at pursuing opportunities with large companies like Disney, Tesla, Qualcomm, things of that nature, we have an on-demand series as well that you can participate before you really invest a lot of your time with getting advising. And then when we can find out what the what is, we're going to then determine what the how is. How are you going to do this? Always thinking with the end in mind, which is obviously a contract awarded. Don't fret, we have resources. The Small Business Development Center, the SBDC network here in San Diego and Imperial Valley can help you at no cost. We have advisors that specialize in this type of lean canvas strategic planning. Next is you're going to need money. When you are awarded, not if, when you are awarded a contract, you're going to have to float the cost of that contract from performance to invoicing to payment. How long? Well, that depends on the contract, it depends on the payment terms, and it depends on how organized you are with your invoicing. And so just to kind of give you an idea, most agencies, most large corporations are on a net 45. That net is from the point in which your invoice has been received and approved. That starts the clock. And so you're going to need to have some money. How much are you going to need is going to be contingent on the types and sizes of projects you're looking at. How much are you, how are you going to get it? We have funding advisors that work with a variety of different lending institutions, both traditional and non-traditional. So that's where we can help you identify the how. What is your credit score? Is your credit score not as great as you want it to be? That's okay. We have advisors that can help you with the credit recovery process. Going back to the previous, what is your plan? So if you're asking for $100,000, what are you going to use it for? What is your plan for it? You'll have to gather your financial records, both personal and company. So financial statements such as income statements, cash flow statements, balance sheets. A lot of this can be overwhelming. We have advisors that can help you every step of the way. Your tax returns, projections, all of these things, you're going to need money, and it takes some time to get this all together. The last thing you want to be doing is when you're awarded a contract is then trying to find out whether or not you can get the adequate funding to help you support the project. The SBDC program is designed to help you in this area. This is probably one of our primary functions as a resource, is to help small businesses obtain the necessary financing and funding needed to be successful, all at no cost to you. And then finally, you're going to need to market. There is only one way to generate revenue, and that is through marketing. There's no other way. And there's three objectives to marketing. Obviously, the primary objective is to make money, is to generate revenues. But before that can happen, you have to create name recognition and an open dialogue. I like to call this building trust. So when you reach out to a prospective customer, whether it be government sector, public sector, or private sector, they're not going to award you a contract right then and there. Usually, 99% of the time, that's not going to happen, because they don't even know you exist. And they certainly don't trust that you have the capabilities to perform. And so when you're dealing with the public sector and large corporations, their number one criteria is to know that you can perform. So before revenues can be generated, you need to create name recognition and open dialogue, rapport building. And this all happens in the follow-up. Now, I have found that typically, if you are marketing and your marketing is not creating these three things, name recognition, open dialogue, and revenues, it is because of four reasons. One, you're inconsistent because you're busy, so you put this on the back burner. Number two, you're using the wrong mediums to get in front of your customer. So for example, if I was targeting senior citizens and I have a bunch of TikTok videos, well, I'm probably not in the right medium to be in front of the senior citizen population. I use a very basic example so that we can all connect with that. The third reason is we're sending the wrong message. And so once again, if I'm targeting senior citizens, but all of my photos or graphics or my messages are all of a younger generation, or I hire Kim Kardashian to be my spokesperson, I'm probably missing the message there. And then the fourth reason, all of the above. So we have marketing advisors that can help you with this, from name recognition to creating a brand to having the appropriate online presence to search engine optimization. How do you create an open dialogue? A number of marketing advisors to help you in all of those different areas of marketing. Again, at no cost to you. I know I usually get the free, no way, it's too good to be true. You're right. Although our services are at no cost to you, our advisors are compensated. We are professional advisors. We are contractually obligated to do one thing, and that is move you forward every step of the way to help create what we call economic impact. In essence, increase your sales, create jobs, get contracts awarded, all of that which is going to help your ideally your bottom line. So we do get funding from a variety of different sources, primarily the Small Business Administration, the State of California Department of General Services, State of California Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development, so GoBiz, our host institution, Miracosta College, and I know that Mike will speak more about their funding sources and Southwestern College, but we have 20 to 30 different sponsors, including lending institutions that have a commitment to the small business community and understand that you need the resources that you may not have the financial capabilities to secure on your own. So they provide the funding on your behalf. Although our services are no free, nothing in life is free. Yes, you do have to do the work, but we will guide you every step of the way. We'll give you instructions. We'll give you easy to do tasks. And once you are involved, it's long-term. There's no end in sight. So as you need resources, as you have questions, as things come up, you don't know what you don't know until you don't know it. You'll always have access to us via email virtually 24/7 to ask those questions. And if we don't have the resources in-house, we'll get you connected to the right resources to help you. Anything you could possibly need. So how do you get started? First step is please go to our website. It's got all of the information there. Right there on our website, you can either participate in our on-demand trainings, you can participate in our live trainings, you can even request one-on-one advising. So it's a very, another acronym, SDIV-SBDC.org. It stands for San Diego Imperial Valley Small Business Development Center.org. Again, everything you possibly need to help support you as you pursue growing your business, or maybe even starting your business. Maybe you haven't even started your business. We have advisors that can help you with identifying the correct legal entity and walk you through step by step. So with that being said, thank you again for the opportunity to provide you with the resources we have. My name is Cheryl Brown. To get in contact, I'll put this in the chat with us. I'll give you our email address as well as our website. But take a look at our website. That's the first step, because then you can kind of see exactly everything you're looking at. If you're looking for government contracting, go to our on-demand series. If you're looking to start your business, we have an on-demand start your business in a day series. So that's the best part. Get started there at your own leisure, and then you can decide what your next steps are. Thank you so much, and I look forward to the Q&A later on.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. We really appreciate you coming on. As she mentioned, the advisors are super high caliber, so take advantage of it. All right, so
what I mentioned, I forgot to mention too, Gretel, is that all of our advisors not only are advisors in their areas of expertise, but they're also business owners or have been business owners. So I actually have a family-owned business that my sons and my husband, everybody else is kind of out there in the field doing, and we do a tremendous amount of contracting with the state and local markets. So we're not just lip service, we're in the field. We know the obstacles, we know the trials and tribulations. So, and I know that Mike can definitely speak on those trials and tribulations as well. So that's what's a little bit unique about our advisors. So sorry, thank you.
No, I agree. And that's something that another reason why I said about Mike too. I think it's very important to be able to understand what it is that you have to do in order to succeed and to go through that struggle so that you can provide the best feedback. And I think that's why you guys are so great. So thank you. And yes, we will do the Q&A afterwards. So with that, I will go ahead and pass it over to Mike.
All right. So introduction to PTAC. I'm going to hit on some of the similar topics that Cheryl talked about. I'll give you some tidbits after I talk a little bit about the PTAC. So what do we do? The PTAC is the Procurement Technical Assistance Center. We're funded by DLA, Defense Logistics Agency, which is a component command of Department of Defense. And as Cheryl said, we're the second largest government contracting city or spend rate in the country, and we're the third largest naval forces concentration area in the world. So there's a lot of military spending here. We do see that mainly from DoD, but there are other federal agencies here as well that do a lot of spending. The difference between PTAC and SBDC is is we are laser focused in on government contracting, and we're not allowed to help you with access to capital or writing a business plan or strategic plan. We're here just for the government contracting piece. So the way we do that is we have training webinars on a various different topics, and I'll tell you a little bit about those. But predominantly, it's the one-on-one counseling or consulting. So you'll get to spend an hour or an hour and a half with consultants such as myself or any of my 5 full-time and part-time consultants. And what we do is we help you with what you specifically need help with. So most of our businesses are already in business, so we're not helping you with the startup piece. And you come to us with a specific issue or a specific request, and we will walk you through that, whether it's a certification, a bid, a letter of novation, an SBIR proposal, phase 1, phase 2. It could be anything to do with government contracting we can help with. And we also do some assistance with market research. But I want to really highlight the fact that we are not part of your workforce. Our goal is to, the metaphor I like to use is teach you how to fish, okay, and not do the fishing for you. So you're going to learn how to do your own market research like that. This is our mission. We are allowed to help large businesses, which is a little bit different. So SBDC, I don't think can help with large businesses. We can help with large businesses. And you can see down here the different pieces of the pie, the different types of businesses that we help from the federal perspective. And again, it's all at no cost to you. So it's a great tool. When I started my company 10 years ago, I wish I would have known about the PTAC or the SBDC, because I would have avoided many mistakes that I made in those first couple of years. But I didn't. So, first thing that you're doing right now is you're learning about different resources that you can utilize. And as Cheryl said, use them all. Use the resources that are out there. The federal government is paying us. So we are professional consultants and we know what we're doing. So use us. The resource is there and you shouldn't be shy about it. Same thing with PTAC. We have local sponsors and we would not be able to provide our services without the support of these local sponsors. Our funded program is about 1.1 million is our annual amount. And a lot of that comes from sponsors. A lot of it comes from the federal government, and the majority of it, the rest of it comes from Southwestern Community College, who's our host. So every one of these organizations has a host. There are PTACs located across the country. Most of them are located within higher education centers. So our sponsors, as you can see, we have Sandag, the airport, a bunch of water districts. San Diego Unified School District is a fantastic sponsor. The state and Department of General Services. Got a couple of large primes, construction primes in Harper and Sunt. We got a large DoD prime in General Atomics. And again, our primary sponsor is Southwest College, and they host us. So we're physically located in National City at the Higher Education Center here for Southwestern College. And we're located in the Center for Business Advancement. So in the Center for Business Advancement, the regional office for the Small Business Development Center is located here, as well as the South San Diego SBDC. So there's a SBDC down here, the Small Business Development Center. There's a Women's Business Center and the PTAC. So you'd be hard pressed to find a need or a need for help or some kind of assistance that this center could not provide. And there's centers across the region in the SBDC and the PTAC. We specifically cover San Diego, Orange, and Imperial counties. If you're not located in San Diego, Orange, and Imperial County, there are PTACs across the country, and here's the link you would use to find that. So you just click on that and tell them where you are, and you'll be able to get some help. If anyone is on the call and is not in our area and is having trouble finding their PTAC or getting help from their PTAC, simply email me, and I will do you a personal introduction email to the PTAC and make sure that you get the help that you're looking for. Who do we help? Well, this is from a contract value perspective, and then you looked at it, the same pieces of the pie that you saw before. So you can see it's $185 million in contracts. That was for, I believe, 2020. So our clients are getting contracts. They're getting a significant amount of contracts. And you can see the breakdown between disadvantaged firms, women, minority, hub zone, veteran owned, and other small and disabled vet. Our latest outcomes were 1.8 billion in contract awards since that's ending in the year 2020. So since our inception, we've helped our clients get over 1.8 billion in awards. And this is jobs retained for 2020 was 1,235. And we have a very good client satisfaction rating. So I think it's a great resource. And again, I wish I had known about it when I started my own company. So a little bit about me. My name is Mike Sabellico. I'm a retired Coast Guard officer. So I spent 21 years in the U.S. Coast Guard. And when I was in the Coast Guard, I was often in command cadre positions, and I would often fight with my storekeeper. The storekeeper is the one who buys stuff that you need. And I'd say, darn it, why don't you just go to Target and buy this piece of equipment that we need, or these, this admin supplies, whatever. And the storekeeper would say, well, XO or Captain, we need to do business with small businesses. It's part of what we're supposed to be doing. I'm like, that's bull. Just do it. Just go buy it. So I was my own worst enemy, leaping into my future. I didn't realize how important it was and how important these programs are. So you do have to, as a small business owner, you have to understand how the government works. When I launched my company in 2010, I was selling some products and doing some consulting for the government, and I really didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that the government had these programs because I had been in contracting a little bit for the Coast Guard, and I made a lot of mistakes. Then I went to work for a small company here in San Diego. I did business development for them, found out that, hey, you could get some contracting leverage if you're a disabled veteran company, or if you're a women-owned company, or this thing called Hub Zone. So I learned about all of these certifications that the federal government had. Then I learned about the state certifications. And by the way, the state is a little different than the federal government. And if you're a company that's looking to do government contracting, my recommendation is you have a silo here for federal contracting, state, and then business to business. So you have all three covered. So whenever the economy is doing this, you're able to have, when the economy on the commercial side is struggling, the government's usually throwing money at it. And conversely, when the economy is doing well, the government shrinks spending. So it's nice to have, both types of, private and government contracts. And then the state is flush right now. But there's been times in my life living in California when the state wasn't flush. So again, you want to have different segments, different silos, whatever you want to call it. Diversify your customer base as much as possible. Okay, so you're already in business. You may or not be selling to the government. If you do want to sell to the government, you have to research your market. This is the most critical piece in my mind. You have to know who and what agencies buy your products or services. Okay, so the government buys everything from paper clips to missiles. However, not every part of the government does buy everything. A good example is I had a spouse of a Marine officer that said, hey, I want to sell this high-end shampoo to the Marine Corps. I said, well, that's going to be a problem. Number one, the Marines shave their head, so they don't use a lot of shampoo. And secondly, the Marine Corps is not going to buy this high-priced shampoo for their Marines. They're going to buy the cheapest stuff possible, and they're going to stick it in the showers in like 10-gallon jugs. So that was not a good solution, or not a good market for it. Now, conversely, if she wanted to sell to the commissary of the exchange, which is the specialized stores on the military bases where families shop, that may have been a good option. So another point is, say you want to sell a component of a missile to Raytheon because they make the Patriot missiles. Well, the government buys missiles, yes, but they don't buy parts of missiles. So in this case, if you're going to be selling something like that, you're still selling to the government, but you'll be doing so as a subcontractor. And there's different strategies and different things to understand as a subcontractor vice a prime contractor. Most companies will break in to the market as a subcontractor at first. So keep that in mind. You have to know what agencies buy your products and services. There's a couple of websites that I recommend people look at. One of them is fpds.gov. That's Foxtrot Papa Delta Sierra. .gov, and then usaspending.gov. There's a lot of very useful information on what the government has purchased who they purchased it from, and how much they paid for it. And you can look at historically the volume that the government has purchased. So if you're selling widgets and there's already 100 people selling widgets to the government and they're only buying, 1,000 a year, you're probably not going to break into that market. It's going to be very tough. So what do you need to do? You need to find your niche. You need to find out where you're going to be able to comfortably take over a percentage of that market or sell to the government a small percentage of what they're buying, and still have enough sustainability to keep the business afloat. Competition is fierce. Some people tell you, a government contract is a way to get rich. Well, there's a lot of money to be made in government contracting, no doubt. However, the government is not paying exorbitant prices for everything. Now, you'll hear about the $10,000 toilet seat or the $1,000 hammer, and those situations do occur, but they're few and far between. And if you are one of the unlucky, and I'm going to say unlucky, vendors that sell to the government and gouge them like that, the government eventually is going to figure that out, and they may hold you accountable. So keep that in mind. You want to be able to make a profit, but it's got to be a reasonable profit. Fair and reasonable is a term you'll hear a lot in government contracting. But first of all, know the agencies. What do they buy? Know and know which agencies buy what, and then find your niche. Thirdly, you want to understand how government spends. Very simply, one issue is, does the government buy more in the first quarter or the fourth quarter? Well, the answer is the fourth quarter, because we as a government still operate on a use it or lose it mentality, which means if you don't spend your budget in that fiscal year, next year, not only will you not get that, you might get a reduction. So I learned that the hard way. When I was a young lieutenant junior grade, I thought I was saving some money. So I turned $5,000 of my $31,000 budget back into my group commander. And he was like, "What are you doing? This is crazy. You're going to lose that money next year." And I was like, "I don't understand." He's like, "You need to spend the budget that you asked for." So in the fourth quarter, there'll be a lot more spending than the first quarter. In the first quarter, there's often continuing resolutions where the government does not approve the budget. So they're operating on 5 or 10% of the budget. So they're buying minimal things. The other thing is to understand that the government's going to spend what I call a knee-jerk reaction. So when the pandemic occurred, a lot of money was moved from in-person like training or in-person events to personal protective equipment. So businesses that could nimbly switch their focus from selling, for instance, mechanical pieces, and instead sold gloves and masks, and immediately were able to do that, made a lot of money. So you have to understand how the government's going to react and try to foresee that. The best way to explain that is the famous hockey player Wayne Gretzky said, I don't skate to where the puck is going to be. I don't skate to where the puck is. I skate where it's going to be." And that takes a little of intuition, and you need to understand how the game of hockey is played. Same thing with the government. Well, what is the government buying now doesn't necessarily mean what it's going to be buying, in 6 months. So keep that in mind. Understand how the government spends. The other piece of that is, the rules of how the government spends. Up to $10,000 can be, bought on a credit card. Between 10 and 25 can be bought with minimal competition. 25 and above has to have competition. Above 700,000 has to be a negotiated contract. So those are the things that the PTAC can help with, is trying to figure out where do you fit in that puzzle. Finally, in researching the market, you want to know your competition. So part of fpds.gov, the nice thing about it is the government is required to advertise who they bought it from. That means you get to know who your competition is. So that's great. You know who they are, what they're selling the product for currently. So if you want to beat them on price, you're going to have to be below that. So that's a big part of researching the market, is understanding your competition and what they're currently selling to the government. Okay, remember, it's all about the customer. So the customer is the key person. The customer is the one, whether it's an individual or it's an agency, they're going to be opening up their wallets and handing you money for your product or service. Without customers, you're not in business. So you really have to understand the customer and understand that they create market-driven opportunities. It really doesn't matter what anyone thinks about your concept, except your customers. Because if they don't care and they don't buy your product, you're out of business. So keep that in mind and be constantly getting feedback from your customers. We talked about market research already, but it includes gathering information from customers. So again, that seems to be pretty self-explanatory, but I'm going to take this a step further. Not only customers, but you're going to want to gather information from your sphere of influence. That can be your family. It's also your workers, your employees. They're the ones that really know what's going on in your shop or within your business. I use a lot of military examples, so I'll use this one. I was on board a 270-foot Coast Guard cutter. I was the CO, which is the commanding officer, and I had a young seaman recruit report for duty. He graduated from boot camp, was only there about a week. He was older and he had already graduated from college. He was a very intelligent young man. And I made a habit of walking around the ship and saying, hey, what's going on? And I asked this young man, I said, well, how do you like the ship so far? He's like, I love it, Captain. It's great. You know, and I said, well, is there anything we're doing that we should think about? Can we do anything better? And he says, as a matter of fact, there is. And I was shocked because normally a young seaman recruit would not even want to talk to the captain. And secondly, they would never bring up something that they thought we were doing not so great or there was some improvement to me. This young man went into an in-depth discussion about how we're lowering the small boat and we could do it more safely. And turns out that he was absolutely correct. I had him work with our boatsmate chief. We submitted a proposal to the Atlantic area. And because this young man came aboard and we had that short conversation, we got it filled out and put in, and it became the new way for the entire Atlantic area cutter fleet to lower their small boat. So the moral of this story is even the youngest person, the youngest, newest employee can have some valuable feedback for you. So make sure you're getting feedback from everybody in your sphere of influence. Finally, customers, we're going to help you refine and perfect your business, hopefully. And your business model is not a plan that's put on a shelf and gathering dust. It's ever changing. The world is ever changing. So you have to be ever changing as a business owner and be nimble enough to get through what we've seen in the past couple of years. There's plenty of businesses that didn't make it through, but now there's plenty of businesses that have gone through and they're actually surviving and doing quite well. Those are the types of businesses that have these types of programs in place. They're talking to their customers, talking to their employees, making sure they're changing how they deliver products and services as the world changes around them. All right, so again, the PTAC is out here. We're here to help you, just like the SBDC. We do some really good training. The next couple of trainings that we offer, and all of our training is at no cost. All you have to do is sign up, and you can sign up right here at sdcocecenterdirect.com/events. That link is right there. And I believe Gretel is going to be forwarding the slide deck to you. The next one is your company ready for cybersecurity compliance? For those of you that have heard of CMMC, and those of you that are looking at DoD at all, it's a huge issue. So make sure you're ready for cybersecurity issues, NIST 800-171. I know the SBIR program, many of those programs are going to require you to have CMMC level 1 certification or audit approved. So keep that in mind. How to create a winning proposals on the 20th. We have a basic one. Are you ready for government contracting on the 5th? And then subcontracting strategies on the 18th. And again, that's one of the major ways companies get their first government contract is as a subcontract. We also have really good webinars, and they're called Doing Business With, and then the agency. So if you want to do business with the state of California, Department of General Services, Wednesday, the 14th of September, we're doing one, and they're going to tell you exactly how to do business with the state. It's really good because they're going to give you some opportunities that are currently out there, and they're also going to give you the specifics. People always ask me, Mike, do I have a template on how to do business with the government? And I say, no, every agency is different. There's different portals. There's different ways to respond to RFPs. There's different requirements per agency. Heck, there's different requirements per agency sometimes in their sub-agencies. So keep that in mind. You really have to understand the agency and know what they need in order for you to do business with them. Then U.S. Department of General Services, GSA, we're doing that on September 27th on Tuesday. We are having a great event here. It's called National PTAC Day. It's near and dear to my heart because we came up with this concept as the San Diego PTAC about 4 years ago, and now it's celebrated nationally across the country with every PTAC. So we're calling it Thriving as a Business in a Pandemic World. Notice we're not saying post-pandemic, because I don't think we're post-pandemic. I think we're in a pandemic world, and this is a new reality. So you have to understand what that means. So we're having a little panel. It's a very short panel, about 30 minutes, and then a resource fair. So we'll have 20 businesses or agencies in a courtyard at tables here at our center. So please join us if you'd like. It's limited to the first 100 participants because we are limited by space and we're trying to keep things safe as far as COVID. So please feel free to sign up for that National PTAC Day on September 21st. We're going to be closed on the 5th. Navy Gold Coast. If you're interested in doing business with the United States Navy, this is a must attend event. It's not free. It's probably about $500 or $600 now because we're very short notice. But NavyGoldCoast.org. I believe the last number I heard was they're going to have 3,000 attendees. Almost every single command from the U.S. Navy will be represented there. So it's a fantastic event. I'll be there. I'm going to be doing a couple of presentations. We'll also have a booth. So, you know, if you are interested in the Navy and doing business with them, it's a must attend event. Again, if you're signing up for counseling, this is how you do it. And these slides are going to be sent to you by Gretel. So don't worry about writing this down now. We're all over social media. Now, I'm pretty good on Facebook and LinkedIn. I'm not a huge tweeter or an Instagram person, but we have accounts there. So please follow us. And questions.
Thank you so much, Mike. It's great that you shared all of those events. Again, there's so many great resources that San Diego has. We also have so many military and agencies that are here in San Diego to do your best to work with. So for Gold Coast, great event. It is next week or the week after. Yeah.
Next week.
Next week. Yeah. Wow. Time flew by this year, huh?
Yeah, it's right after Labor Day. It starts on
yeah. It's that Tuesday. I do remember that. So I'll also be there. So I'll go find you, Mike.
It's important for the people on the call here. If you're not interested in purchasing a ticket, which is for Wednesday and Thursday, Tuesday they have some great sessions that are available and they're at no cost. So there's probably 10 or 12 sessions on a variety of different topics. So those are good events to go to.
Yeah, and I can drop the link to that if if some of the speakers are attendees are interested. There's also going to be a couple like SBIR workshops as well. So if you're here because you're an SBIR fan and are interested in the program, they will have the Department of the Navy SBIR. I think that's Brian Shipley, and then also the local SysCom person is going to be here, which is Shadia Zoom, who's our partner. So that's great. I'm going to go ahead and piggyback off of a little bit of what Mike shared, which is understanding what agencies are interested in what, because one of the questions that we get a lot is how to even interact with government people. I think a lot of people struggle with, I have this really cool product or technology, how do I get it in front of them? So assuming that they have done their research, they have found which agency, which a lot of times we don't do as well of a job as we should because it is a confusing space. It's massive, right? The federal government is huge, but assuming you've done your research and you've found which agency is probably best suited for the type of technology you're working on, what would you both, and Mike and Cheryl, whoever wants to take it first, what would you say is the best practice in making sure you get in front of those people? And also, what are some main things they should have ready once you get to that step? Because you obviously want to be as prepared as possible once you get there.
You want to grab it, Cheryl? You want me to go?
Well, I'll just, I have a little bit of an unorthodox approach, and it seems to be pretty successful. Remember, these are people. They're people. And so, providing you've done your research, which I know that PTAC and we can assist you with to identify, okay, who is it that you need to engage with? Who do you need to approach? What things do you need to have in place? Remember that they're people first. And you want to make sure that they can't buy from you, even if they wanted to, because they have no idea that you, A, exist, and B, that you have the capabilities. And so it's amazing what will happen if you pick up the phone or send an email and say, introduce yourself using a very basic 30-second elevator pitch and create an open dialogue. I don't know how many times I hear from government buyers that they select the same people over and over again because those people don't yell at them. And that's like almost a direct quote. So remember that they're people first, and they're there, so you can learn and find out what it is that you need to do. So that would be my starting point, is remember they're people, just like you, just like me. Yes, your T's have to be crossed and your I's need to be dotted, but ultimately they're people. And most of these agencies also have advocates and small business departments that can also help support you. So that's kind of my spiel is, what, pick up the phone, send an email, introduce yourself, and stop selling. Ask open-ended questions, learn about what their needs are before you provide solutions. That's my 2 cents.
I agree with everything Cheryl said. It's very important that you approach people keeping in mind that business development is relationship building. So, we all have different ways to raise children. We all have different ways to interact with our parents. We have different ways to interact with each other on a daily basis. But keep in mind that business development is about relationship building. I don't care if it's the government or it's some lady down the street buying brownies from your kid. It's about doing business with somebody you know and you trust. So that's the type of relationship you're going to try and build with that potential customer. I am going to say that the will of the government, as far as not as a whole, but the people involved in selling products or buying products or services, or in the small business liaison roles, I'm going to say it's about a 50-50 whether or not they're going to help you or not. And part of your challenge as a business owner, and I don't think I'm being too negative here, and Cheryl, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but is figuring out who's going to help me and who's not, and then quickly cutting the chafe. And what I mean by that is, don't waste time on somebody who's not going to help you. And you have to be able to figure that out. I can usually talk to a small business liaison officer, and in 5 minutes or less, I can figure out whether or not I'm really going to get any help or not. And if I'm not, it's like, thank you very much. I don't burn bridges, but I just move on. So, you need to do that. And it's like, if you go to sell your product at some kind of trade show or something, not everybody is going to be excited about buying your product. Some people will, some people won't. You're going to follow up with the people that you want or hot contacts, right? Same thing with the government. So keep that in mind. Not everybody in the government is going to be as helpful as you'd want them to be. And there's no requirement for the government to buy anything from you ever, even if you're a brand new business and you just spent 6 months getting certified under every possible thing that you could, and you're all frustrated because you haven't gotten a contract. The government doesn't care. And in my personal opinion, nor should they. It's up to you to sell your product or service to the government. So keep that in mind. It's relationship building 101.
Yeah, and I'd like to also piggyback, because I don't think a lot of our attendees might know this, but when we look at all the different opportunities that the government has, federal, state, local, about 90% of the purchases, they actually don't hit the street for a full and open competitive bid. You know who gets those? Is the people that have developed a relationship with those buyers. And so I agree, Mike, it's definitely another thing is, just because you're certified doesn't mean they have to buy from you. The legislation states that the buyer must award to the firm that A, can demonstrate they have the ability to perform, and B, has the best value, best pricing. Not always lowest price, but the best value. So keep that in mind as well. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and add that I think just as human beings, the more trust we have when someone, they're more willing to help. So if they're not the right contact within that agency, if you build a good relationship, they'll be more likely to help you get to the right person. So also keep that in mind, just in general. Going off of what you said about certifications, because I think that's something that's very important. A lot of people don't know how to even begin. What would you say are like the first few that would be very important to have? I think like for SBIR, we always get one, and I'm like, please register at some.gov. That's like the main one to even get started. And they do, you both mentioned most agencies have their own office of small businesses, and they typically have a list of like, do these first 10 steps if you want to work with us. So I'll put that out there. But is there any certifications that you think are extremely important to have for small businesses that want to work with federal, local, or state government?
I'll take this one first. It really depends, because you want to look at who is your most likely target. Like, who's most likely to buy my product or service? You can do that through market research. Then once you find that out, you go to that agency or whoever that person customer is and find out what kind of contracting leverage is there available if I'm a certified whatever. You know, you do need to know the federal government has 4 certifications, you know, the small disadvantage certification, 8A program, women owned, hub zone, and disabled vet. And then the state has 2, small business and disabled veteran business enterprise. But there are a plethora of other agencies that have various types of programs, like the city of San Diego has an EBLE, an SBLE. I mean, I could go on, but I think the key is, again, who's my customer? Who's my most likely customer? And then look at that. Once you figure that out, the other piece of the pie is all of these certifications are going to require the same type of documentation. So get a folder electronically on your computer, 3 years of taxes, personal, depending if you're going for a certain type of certification, and business licenses, all the normal things. You're going to need payroll, business licenses. You're going to need statements if you're a disabled vet from the VA, all kinds of things that are going to be used over and over and over. So put them in an electronic file.
And I would agree. There are virtually thousands of certifications you could pursue, whether it be small business, woman-owned, minority-owned, disabled veteran, veteran-owned. Then there's the LGBTQ certificate. I mean, there's literally thousands. In the state of California, for example, as Mike mentioned, has 2. The federal government doesn't care about the state certifications. And the city of San Diego doesn't care about the state certifications. So oftentimes I see small businesses, they want to jump into this certification world and they want to get all certified and get all these different certifications. I don't recommend doing that, because it is a lot of time, it's a lot of energy and a lot of effort. Why get a certification that's not actually going to help you with the customer that you're targeting? And so in our on-demand government contracting series that we have a module that covers certifications, as well as a module that covers supporting documents needed to pursue these certifications. But first, identify your buyer, confirm that that buyer is viable, and then if they have a preference program and you qualify, don't try to stuff a round peg in a square hole, then yeah, get the certification. And you know what? Don't do it alone. Reach out to PTAC, reach out to the SBDC. We will walk you through step by step and make it as painless as possible, because some of the questions are a little wonky, and I always say, it's not that I'm all that smart. It's just that I'm in these systems so much that I know what they're going to ask and why they're asking and all that good stuff. So just don't go it alone. You shouldn't have to.
Thank you. And I do think the point that you made, like, not every program or agency that you're after is going to require the same stuff. And so as an example, the SBIR program doesn't care if you're woman-owned, veteran-owned. So there's no need for this if you're going after an SBIR award. So keeping that in mind and not creating work for yourself ahead of not needing it, I think is really important to just be cautious of your time, because proposal writing is already so much time, right? So you want to make sure that you're putting that energy into what really needs to get done and by when. I'll go ahead and ask a question that came through right now. So do you guys have any idea of any opportunities that are out for the month of September? And it goes along with, can you please elaborate on fourth quarter spending, which is something that Mike brought up. I'll talk about SBIR just because that's where I live. For SBIRs there, for the Navy specifically, their 22.4 cycle closes September 13th. So if you haven't taken a chance, look, it's only 2 weeks, but if you really want to get it done, you can get it done. But it is available there for you to look at. I did look at the DoD SBIR CTR website this morning. I think there's over 75 open topics right now. So take a look at those. And then I'll let Cheryl and Mike, if you guys know of any opportunities that are out there. One of the other questions that the same individual asked was, when is a good time to get funding. For SBIRs, it's usually fairly easy to know because there's scheduled broad agency announcements. So you know when you're going to be able to apply and when they're going to be given awards. So that I would say that's kind of like the months that you get that big funding coming from the SBIR program. But then I'll let you guys go ahead and take a stab at other stuff.
Go ahead, Cheryl.
So I think, it depends on the fiscal year. So obviously the federal fiscal year is October to September. State fiscal years, July to June. And so, yeah, that last quarter is a huge quarter for a lot of spending. But that's not when you want to start engaging. You want to be engaging well before then. Opportunities coming out in the month of September, I couldn't even begin to give you a list. Honestly, like on any given month, thousands of opportunities, literally. And so to be able to say, are there any opportunities out there right now? Yeah, there's about 1,000 published and about another 5,000 not published. So as far as getting access to capital and funding, there's not a particular month that is more or that is easier. It just depends on what's going on in the economy. And so in the different lending institutions. So we work with over 100 different lending institutions, both traditional and non-traditional. And so if you're looking at that type of funding, I would connect you with a funding advisor who could really kind of guide you as to what type of financing is going to be right for you.
Yeah, and just quickly, I mean, I don't know if the funding question was, I'm confused by it because SBIRs, you're funded as a, phase one, and some are contracts, some are grants. It depends on the agency. But so if that's what you're talking about, that's like getting a contract. It's like being awarded a contract. So, but if it was funding, as far as getting funding to support a contract, what Cheryl just said is right on target. So the month of September is huge for the federal government because it's the end of the fiscal year, like I said. So to expand on it, I mean, all I'm saying is that they do a lot of spending in that quarter, and it's not normally on new stuff. So here's a good example. And what Cheryl says, you should have already been engaged. So I've got a lot of customers that buy this thing. It's called the tonometer. Okay, you take, and I sell it to the VA and military clinics. What it does is, that machine where you stick your chin in, they strap your head and they blow a puffy air in your eyes. Well, this is a handheld device. It's really cool. It sells for about $2,500, and I sell them to all these clinics. But they buy them with backlog money a lot. So that means at the end of the year, when all the other agencies within the Navy didn't spend their money and they have money left over, then Big Navy sweeps it up, brings it back in, and all these other people that have put backlog orders in, they get funded. So if I'm there and I've been engaging with these people all year and they say, hey, Mike, we don't have the money to buy it, but we're going to put it on backlog. I know there's a chance that I'm going to get a bunch of orders in September. And lo and behold, next month I'll start getting a bunch of orders. But that's what she means by being ready and being engaged already. This is what we think we're going to buy with this money. But there are situations where it's just, you're lucky and you happen to be in the right spot at the right time. There is more spending federally during that month than any other month normally. And then for the state, it's June, right? June is the last month. So yeah, you got to figure that out. And different agencies have different, budgets that they go by. And, we have sponsors of the PTAC that have different funding years too. So it's hard to keep track of all that. But that's why I said, fourth quarter or September was full of more opportunities, because for the federal side, that's where it is.
Yeah, and it's just making sure that they obligate the funds that they have left over before the fiscal year ends. So it's kind of when you're young and your parents tell you, you have $10, but I won't give you $10 more until you're done with your $10. So what do? You go and spend those $10 because you want to get the new money, right? So I know we're at 2:01. I did want to share just to show how collaborative San Diego is. There's a couple people on the Q&A that share that they've received an SBIR award and that they're happy to share their personal experiences. Another one did let us know that the Navy Gold Coast do need volunteers next week. And if you volunteer, they grant you free admission. So she threw her email in there for those of you who are interested. And I just want to go ahead. I know our time's up and I want to be respectful of everyone's times to just thank you so much to Mike and Cheryl. This was extremely helpful, even just to me. I think it's great that you're out there. And for those that are still here and for those that will watch the video, we will send the presentations, we'll share this video, but also know that they're here to help you. And really their goal is to help assist as much as they can and provide the support that is needed. And I think everyone in the community, as I said, San Diego South Collaborative, we want to succeed as a region. We want to do well. So don't be afraid to reach out. If you reach out to me and you want to meet with Cheryl, I'll make sure that I'll send her that email. So I think we're all pretty connected in that regard. So thank you again. Thank you so much, Mike, Cheryl. We really appreciate your time. So thank you and have a great day and a great Labor Day weekend.